Today, we're diving into one of the most important periods in all of Chinese history, the Han Dynasty. We're talking about a powerhouse that lasted for over 400 years. And it didn't just rule China, it literally forged the identity of the nation, shaping its government, its culture, and its place in the world for thousands of years to come.
And the whole story, which honestly sounds more like a legend than history, really boils down to this one incredible question. How on earth does an empire that lasts for centuries, with a legacy that's still alive today, start with a regular person, a peasant? It's an amazing story, so let's get right into it.
Okay, so our story kicks off at a major turning point. The old dynasty is collapsing, and out of that chaos, a new one is about to have a very fiery, very dramatic birth. This is how the Han rose right from the ashes of a broken empire to build something completely new. And when I say they built something that lasted, I am not kidding. We're talking about a reign of over 400 years. Just to put that into perspective, that is way longer than most countries today have even existed. This wasn't just some brief chapter in a history book. This was an entire era that defined a civilization. And right at the center of it all is this guy, Liu Bang. Now get this, he wasn't royalty, he wasn't some highborn general. He was a peasant, a man of the people who rose up, led a rebellion, and through just incredible leadership, founded an entire dynasty. He'd eventually become Emperor Gaozu, but he never forgot where he came from. And this is where we see a huge shift in how to run a country. The dynasty they overthrew, the Qin, had ruled with an iron fist. It was all about brutal, strict laws. But Liu Bang and the Han, they had a totally different idea. They knew you needed to be strong, sure, but they believed that real, lasting power came from mixing that strength with fairness and just being decent. That was a revolutionary concept back then.
So, how did they do it? How do you keep that kind of power for 400 years? Well, it definitely wasn't just luck. The Han Dynasty's success was really built on a few key pillars that created what we now call a golden age of stability, wealth, and incredible innovation. Let's pull back the curtain and see how they pulled it off. It really comes down to these three things. First, a government that was actually organized and worked for the people. Second, a shared philosophy that gave everyone, from the emperor to the farmer, a sense of purpose. And third, some absolutely game-changing technological breakthroughs.
Let's start with that philosophy. The Han made Confucianism the official state ideology. And this was so much more than just a bunch of nice ideas. It was like the moral operating system for the entire empire. It taught that leaders had a deep responsibility to be fair, and that the whole society worked better when everyone, respected each other and did their part.
And they put that idea into practice with their government, which was frankly genius. Instead of just giving powerful jobs to the sons of rich nobles, the Han chose their officials based on merit, on how smart and capable they actually were. You had to be educated to get a government job. This meant they had a professional, effective system that could run a massive empire smoothly. But it wasn't just about government. The Han era was an absolute explosion of creativity and invention. And I'm talking about things that literally changed the world. Think about it. They invented paper. That completely revolutionized how information was stored and shared. The wheelbarrow made building and farming so much easier. Better plows meant more food, which meant a bigger, healthier population. Every single one of these was a massive leap forward. So, with a stable government, a booming population, and all this new tech, the Han Dynasty was feeling pretty confident. They had their house in order. And that strength at home allowed them to do something huge, to look outward and connect China to the rest of the world like never before. And that brings us to the famous Silk Road. Now, it wasn't a symbol road, but this huge network of trade routes, like the internet of the ancient world, stretching thousands of miles. For the very first time, it connected the empires of China directly with empires in the West, like Rome. It wasn't just for trading goods, it was a highway for ideas, for culture, for technology. And boy, did China have things the rest of the world wanted. Of course, there was silk, this magical fabric that was so valuable in Rome, it was literally worth its weight in gold. But they also exported their incredible invention, paper, and all sorts of valuable spices. This trade made the Han Empire unbelievably wealthy, and that wealth paid for everything else. But as we see again and again in history, even the greatest empires don't last forever.
After these centuries of incredible success and prosperity, some serious cracks started to show in the foundation of the Han Dynasty, and eventually, it all came tumbling down.
It wasn't just one thing, but a whole chain reaction, like dominoes falling. It started from the inside, you know? Government corruption got out of control. To pay for their lavish lifestyles, officials started crushing farmers with heavy taxes. This led to a lot of anger and eventually huge peasant rebellions. All that chaos made the empire weak, and that's when invaders from the north saw their chance. It just fell apart. And so, in the year 220 CE, after more than 4 incredible centuries, the last Han emperor was forced to step down. And just like that, the Great Dynasty was officially over. China would splinter, entering a long, difficult period of conflict.
But the story doesn't end there, not even close. Because even though the dynasty itself fell, its influence, its ideas, they were so powerful that they're still shaping China and the world right now, today.
So, what's the big takeaway? The Han Dynasty basically created the blueprint for what we think of as China. They established this idea of a unified Chinese culture and identity. Their merit-based government was copied for centuries. Confucian ideas are still a huge deal. And that connection to the world they started with the Silk Road, that set the stage for China's global role today. And maybe the most powerful piece of evidence for this legacy is something you can hear today. The name of China's largest ethnic group is the Han Chinese. People proudly call themselves the people of the Han. Think about that. It's an identity that was forged 2,000 years ago, and it's still a source of immense pride. And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. It wasn't just about armies or walls that made the Han legacy last so long. It was their ideas, their culture, their innovations. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are the things we're building today that might just last for the next 2,000 years?